Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Today, I've got one on Erebos Lake for you. This is basically a remake of the Ditch remake, which is, wow, I just realized how down the rabbit hole that goes, huh? It's a remake of 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 a remake, but it has water all over the place. So that's basically the main change that was made between all these maps. Let me clear the screen there really quickly. There we go, nice and neat. So as you can see, it has water connecting all of these channelways. So what it means is that if you're playing Navy, you can actually have a little bit more of an effect if you want to move your boats into this sector, for instance, or down into the southern sector. Of course, it's all mirrored, so basically the same thing. It allows you to play a little bit more dynamically as the Navy player, and that's one of the things that I really praise. It's one of the reasons why I like the air rework. I actually have some thoughts on it, and I'll share those in a minute here. But it's one of the things that I think all the good maps can, all the best maps can manage to pull off, is seamlessly integrating all of the different types of play. So naval play, air play, ground play, all that sort of stuff. I think it's all very, very good when it can work together. Representing our red team, spawning on the southwestern side of Erebos Lake, it's going to be Chris Clark, 13. It's Clark Kent's cousin, 3 times removed, and also allergic to the sun, but powered by kryptonite. Going to be an Armada commander here, representing the red team as an Armada commander on the front lines, and I love to see it. I mean, if you're going to be representing your team, you might as well be doing it from the very front lines. Be a leader, not a commander. Something, Sun Tzu, something. Inspiring. You can fill in the blanks from your own memory there. But Chris Clark going to be representing the red team at the very least on this northern front here. Now, interestingly, with the water here, it does mean that ticks can't really do much harassment, at least not along this path, but it looks like that's not dissuading the green player, King Rogue, who's trying to send one across on this northern path. So not a bad idea. It is just going to take quite a bit longer. It means that the rush distance is quite a bit shorter if you're going to go for a tick. And it probably means, in a rare circumstance that this is, it's actually a lot quicker to go for a pawn or grunt to try and send it across the map than a tick would be. It's rare that that's the case, but this is one of them. Now, representing the blue team, spawning in a choice position. You have a lot of options when you go into this position. It's going to be Uncle Bad Touch. Terrible name. Uncle Bad Touch going to be representing our blue team here as a Cortex commander and playing with the bot lab out already. Guess I'm too slow in my introductions here. Already well into some sort of an eco build, it looks like, based on the amount of wind turbines we're going for and based on the amount of metal extractors and eco and whatnot that we already have up and running here. So wouldn't be surprised if Uncle Bad Touch here goes for, I'm going to call you the blue commander from now on. I'm uncomfortable with this name. I wouldn't be surprised if our blue commander here goes for some sort of an eco build. Maybe just a really, really efficient T2 rush, or maybe just going for a whole bunch of T2 economy and then going into a bunch of T1 units. We're just gonna have to wait and see what the plan is here, but certainly a lot of options when you're in this lane. Typically speaking, this is the, what on earth is happening here? Hold on. Arca, 17 true skill, but 1 chevron means this is a brand stinking new player. Oh, yeah, okay. So, Arca, this one goes out to you, Arca. First thing you're gonna want to do, make sure that you put down 2 metal extractors. Next thing you're going to want to do, put down 2 to 4 wind turbines, depending on how good the wind speed is. If the wind speed's bad, you're going to put down 2 wind turbines and a solar panel. After you do that, then you can go ahead and put down 1 lab of your choice. Now, Arca here, obviously not very deep into the bar game. Very new to the bar game here. Can't blame him for being inexperienced. There's only one right way to learn, and it's to jump into a game and mess around and play for yourself. Yeah, Arca realizing this is going to take an eternity without enough energy production here. Yikes. Hopefully we can have some friendly coaching from the blue team. I would appreciate that a whole lot more than hopefully nobody yelling at poor Arca here as they're trying to learn the game. Did I say this was a top level match? Anyways. Mr. Tumnus gonna be walking on forward here. Beanie Bot, a little bit slow on the draw here, and now this commander is all the way across on the other side of the map. Getting quite aggressive over here, but I guess that's all to the benefit of the purple commander. A little bit overextended, so could certainly get surrounded by enemy units, which is the trade-off that, of course, is going to be paid here if these units don't trade out efficiently here on this northern side. Grim 66 going to be able to surround Mr. Tumnus, but it's not like there's enough units out here for BeautyBot in order to get the commander kill, so I guess the risk is well worth the reward here. Nice micro on these grunts over here, by the way. Sniping a whole bunch of metal extractors, managing to keep them alive and running away from these pawns. So frustrating as an Armada player to play against grunts that are microed properly, because they really can just seem like they can survive virtually any engagement you put your pawns into against them. Finally, the grunts do go down, but after a warpath of metal extractors goes down alongside them, absolutely brutal. Looks like a bunch of dolphins go across the map, but it's not going to matter, as a torpedo launcher will shut them down pretty lickety-split, as well as a little coastal torpedo launcher. Also going to do some good work over there. It looks like our blue commander has decided that he's going to manifest Destin this geothermal here. Realizing maybe Arca's not exactly as familiar with the game as they might be, and decides, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and claim this geothermal and use it. So I don't mind that the blue commander is going for eco here. This is one option, right? You just ignore this player then. If they don't know what they're doing and you don't feel like you're in an adequate position to try and coach them, then yeah, just do your best, do your very best, try and fill their position here. At the very least, there's already an air player out for X Creepy, so or that is X Creepy rather, for the blue team, and that's going to mean that at least in the meantime there will be some air coverage, which is one of the options that this player would normally have to go into. A little bit of high-level strategy talk, but I'm sure you guys don't mind. Medium tanks getting into a nice little scuffle over here. Pawn's eventually going to try and clean all this up, as well as a medium tank from the forces of our Akrans. And eventually all of that gets nice and neatly handled here. Ooh, yeah, medium tanks running right over those mines. Getting whittled to pieces over here. Gamer Guy 69, it's quite nice. Going to realize, wait just one moment, there is a absolute massive amount of landmines sitting around on the shoreline. It's going to be well worth pulling the troops back and making sure we send a Juno missile, at the very least something very cheap over there to try and deal with that. Mr. Tumnus was indeed pushed out of the front lines over here. Looks like eventually all they got from that was a little bit of metal over time here. Not sure if it was enough time to make the 2.0 metal extractor worth it or not, but better a little bit of metal than nothing, I suppose. 2.0 metal extractors pay for themselves pretty quick. Only 25 seconds in order for them to fully pay themselves off. Arca going into T2. A little bit early on the transition here. Certainly a little bit earlier than you might expect. Maybe looking at his blue companion up on the northern side and thinking, he's gone T2, maybe I should too. You're going to need a whole lot more economy than this. Also going for some energy storages. This is a pattern that I see a lot from players that come over from Total Annihilation, as well as Planetary Annihilation, is building a whole lot of E storages. A whole lot of E storages. Not sure why that one was so trippy, trying to communicate that problem. Now, T2 propagation. Let's see how quick it can be. Typically, the faster you propagate T2, the better off for the entire team. The quicker you get T2 up and running, the quicker everybody has T2 economy, equals the quicker your entire team has a T2 economy. Tumnus barely surviving an engagement with a whole bunch of blitzes that were not completely well microed. Getaway car. Going to be, instead of ecoing here, going for a little bit of a frontline support cheese, kind of. The cheese hasn't really paid off, but instead deciding to put all that Geo's energy power into economy here, as well as pumping out a bunch of blitzes and sending them to the front line. Not the end of the world. Bit of a, it's always an option. Just use the eco that you get in order to pump out units. Just not what we usually see. Typically, players are a lot more greedy when they play in that spot. Blitzes continuing to try, or sorry, not blitzes. Dolphins. They're the blitz of the sea. Like the chicken of the sea. The dolphin is the blitz of the sea. Capable of doing a tremendous amount of work over here, but it will trade entirely inefficiently against a submarine. And it has also fared quite poorly against the jellyfish over here, that torpedo launcher. All said and done, nicely done by the green player, taking a extremely efficient trade over here. Surprised how late to the party claiming these middle metal extractors are. These should have been claimed ages ago. 3.1 metal extractor for each and every one of those. Looks like we finally have some constructors worried about it from Time Adams. Or maybe it's Tim 3 Adams. Not sure which one there. Medium tanks trying to get engaged over here as well. They're going to get rejected, though, as they get blasted apart by a whole bunch of light laser towers. A little bit of a shell shocker situation over here. All across the board, lots of learning experiences. If you find yourself wanting for learning experiences, this is definitely the place to start. Hop into a low-level lobby like this. Enjoy some casual bar. Maybe get a critique here and there. So a very synchronized battle right here as these armies just collided with each other. No micro whatsoever. Everyone just kind of hoping to see something happen here. Did that fighter just shoot the ground? It looks like we have the air rework on, I'm going to guess. Yeah, we definitely have the air rework on. 125 metal. My goodness. It's an expensive fighter. I think they've toned that back since then. This must be a slightly older replay. Either way, this is with the air rework enabled, which does mean that those fighters can shoot down. Might mean it would be a good idea to send the fighters over across maybe something like this, where there's a lot of lighter units that you might be able to poke the armor of. Chip it out, and maybe eventually allow some of these bots to get engaged over here. There's a lot of wreckage that I'd love to see resurrected here, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and speed this up, because I have a feeling it's going to take us a minute or two before we actually get into any sort of large-scale battle. Commander Riker trying to hold the bottom lines over here. Working with some LLTs. Making good use of those static defenses over here. The Killer D-Gun could shut down this entire army right here. There it is. Takes 2 tanks down. Third one. Yeah, they're pulled back right now. Kozak having that classic problem of clicking the tanks into position rather than click and dragging the tanks into position. Very risky, because oftentimes that can leave you accidentally grouping your tanks up for a monstrous D-gun or maybe a connection by some sort of splash artillery, something like that. It can, yeah, be quite painful in the long run. I say that from a place of experience and, well, it having happened to me. Blitzes finally break through over here. Decide to go on a little bit of a tear. There they go, marching through, and they're going to snipe the geothermal over here. They all... They all clump up on the geothermal, giving it a nice double-barreled hug until it explodes and sends them all to high heavens gates. That'll be the end of the orange blitzes as far as any time of now is concerned. Getaway car, upgrading the metal extractors, or already has actually upgraded the metal extractors to T2. Looks like everybody's pretty much on the T2 economy at this point for the red team. Not bad. 13 minutes into the game, that's not the worst T2 timing as far as propagations I've seen. However, yeah, the blue team's still lagging behind quite sufficiently here, or quite, well, quite significantly here. No T2 propagation on the southern side. Barely on T2 over here on the northern side. A lot of power fluctuations right now as well. As we can see, the power continues to go up and down here on Erebos Lake. Erebos Lake, that's right. T2 Sheldon up and about. Sorry about jostling the camera around, by the way. T2 Sheldon are up and available here. You hear a big naval battle. Yep. Submarines gonna do wonderful work against all of those dolphins that were being pumped out here, but also good enough to shut down some destroyers as well. Run amok, going to be facing the torpedo wrath of a whole bunch of submarines now. Very nice. Not too hard for those submarines to snipe the commander, but it looks like they've got better fish to fry. Pardon my sea-based puns. This line has been broken. Those Sheldon definitely making a difference here. Medium tanks providing a whole lot of vision, allowing the units on the, well, not exactly the northern flank, but the northwestern flank, I suppose, northwestern flank or the northeastern front. Push on forward here. A lot of the medium tanks go down to that commander right here, and we do have a bunch of orange tanks wrapping in from behind. That's actually a really nice move right there. Getaway car. Moving in from behind, managing to snipe a whole bunch of those radar and radar jammers. Also going to deny this T2 laboratory here. A friendly fire, actually. Mostly going to deny that T2. Bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. And a big old push on the southern side as well. Looks like Beanie Bot's commander has fallen, and now there's a whole bunch of thugs and aggravators marching their way across the map right now. Starting to envelop the forces here of the Maroon player. Geothermal in a whole lot of trouble right now. Hate to see it go. That's 300 energy per second down the drain. It's going to bring the Maroon commander down to just about 400, 500-ish energy per second, depending on the wind, which is quite poor right now. I was going to say, I hope we see some T1 advanced solar panels in the background here. It'd certainly be well worth it. Looks like Commander Riker was already on top of it. We have a whole bunch of these T1 fighters. Whoa, Commander goes down right over here, by the way. It was actually the advanced geothermal went down over here, and it took the Commander with him. Run Amok's Commander, who has now been completely ravaged, left with only a T2 constructor to their name. It'll be quite tricky to rebuild here now. Jellyfish trying its best. But yeah, that's a lot of forces now here for the light green player, Time Adams. Looking dire right now for the red team. A whole lot of their front lines have been completely enveloped. Finally, some massive unit production is happening. Grim 66 pumping out a massive trail of maces up to the front lines right now. They'll eventually get there, and they'll eventually start putting in work, but already we have some T2 Mauser on the front here for Arca. They're in a decent spot. Arca may be new to the game, but at least familiar with artillery tactics, putting them on the other side of the river here so they can shell away from long range, and getting a fantastic trade against all of these T1 bots. Oh no. Now that is just carnage. Blasting away those maces with ruthless efficiency here. As all of those, yeah, gonna have quite a tremendous amount of kills to their name. 34 kills between all of those high-powered Mauser firing away. T2 artillery tanks, trucks. Almost said boats. Not quite boats. A land boat, if you will. Medium tanks. Still pushing here. Surprised we're still on medium tanks 18 minutes into the game. I would think T2 tanks should start coming up here, but I guess this is a little bit of a lower level lobby. I've got to adjust my expectations ever so slightly. Chris Clark's got to be careful. It's a lot of Janices. Whoa. That one Janus volley took him down to 37% health. Now, eventually, Commander will be okay after a couple of well-placed D-guns, but had to sacrifice all of the wind turbines for it, and that is just unfortunate. Lines of all sorts, shapes, and sizes are available now for the blue team to aggress. It's time to go, go, go. We've got a lot of Fiends out and available now, and I think that's absolutely epic. Fiend's going to be an excellent choice for dealing with a whole lot of the T1 spam that's still coming out here. We have a whole bunch of maces up here that the Fiends will melt through. We have a whole bunch of Rocketeers as well. If we don't start working on T2, and indeed it looks like that is exactly what Grim is going to be working on, those Fiends are going to have a field day tearing through all of this. T2 tanks out and available now for Akrons. Needs to be expressing his position, though. Now, this is what I was worried about. This is nice. This fortification held for long enough here. But finally, the Hounds have arrived. They're accomplishing the Maces here who are now marching forward in great unison. Their hilarious little waddle. You gotta love the sounds of artillery fire in the morning. Grab a cup of coffee and enjoy the sweet sounds of artillery fire as they ricochet out into the distance. Pardon me, my voice is a little scratchy. Been recording a whole lot of videos here before I go on vacation. Trying to get prepared here. Inevitably, I'm going to have to record on vacation regardless, so pardon me if the setup sounds a little bit different here after a little while. Not sure exactly how different it'll be. At the very least, I'll have better internet, so maybe we can, maybe we'll do a stream here. I never talked about the air rework, did I? I just remembered as well. So the air rework changes a little bit of things. A couple of things. For one, it adds a whole bunch of seaplanes to the T2 gantry. It also adds a new seaplane, the Bat, which is a AoE seaplane. It adds one for the Armada as well, called the Cyclone, but I would advise you strongly not to build any of those. The one unit that the Cyclone did well against was dragons, so at the very least there's a nice counter there for the dragon, but other than that, I would urge you definitely not to go for those. Gunship's going to work out much, much better for your favor. Yeah, those Cyclones, sorry, not gunships, T2 fighters going to work out much, much better in your favor. The Cyclones were miserably disappointing. Still not exactly sure if I was using them incorrectly or if maybe they might just be tuned incorrectly. That was all on stream, by the way, Tuesdays and Saturdays, in case you're interested in tuning in. 12 PDT. It's good fun. We play around with a whole bunch of funky settings, so if you're a little bit bored of the tedium of the standard, maybe watching too many pro games and you want to see what some fun games look like, maybe even you want to play a game yourself, you're more than welcome to come join in. And as an added bonus, you turn off the ranking as well, so you don't have to worry about losing your OS while playing a fun game. I know. It's mind-boggling. Truly a feat of engineering. The anti-air is thick over here. These Manticores certainly firing a devastating cloud of purple anti-air missiles. I can't help but wonder if a simple AI change to make the left and right cannons fire independently, so they would both seek different targets, would make the Manticore a much more devastating beast on the battlefield. Right now, the Manticores tend to have a critical flaw in that they overkill like crazy. So whatever they shoot at, they end up killing with 40 missiles when they only really needed 4 or 5. And that's a significant issue because it means that their value doesn't scale with the amount that you produce. So you don't get too much more value by producing 10 Manticore as if you just produce 2 or 3, which is, I mean, not the way that RTS games are supposed to work, right? It's just that's just a fundamental flaw. Part of that has to do with positioning, keeping your units in the right spot at the right time. But the other half of it is just the fact that units will all lock onto they will tend to all lock onto the same sort of units. Would love to see these hounds switch into their Gauss mode. They're on their heavy plasma mode right now, which takes forever for their projectile to land. Much higher odds that they hit anything if you switch them into their Gauss mode right here. Makes them a little bit better as a frontline unit if you're going to be going for that sort of a thing. Another thing that I'd love to see is some res bots, and it does indeed look like our good man Commander Riker here going to be leading the charge here in the resbot field, trying to eat up a whole bunch of these corpses right now and do the very best that they can in order to, fold the 16,000 or so metal back into the economy of the red team. Trying their very, very best. Blue Commander, stepping a little too far forward here, meets the wrath of the Mauser here. There's also a Pulsar up on the hill, so you got to be careful about that as well. Medium tank got to be used as a little bit of a spotter. Tell us what you see out there. It's Janus missiles. And then the communications ended abruptly. Doing their job, though. Well done to spot a lot of those incoming units here. The Air Forces have been on point right now for Commander Riker, though. Gunships have done a great job of tearing apart a lot of this backline here. Oh, nice snipe right there. Pops a whole bunch of the energy converters and, as well, a lot of the build turrets, the construction turrets over here, meaning that, for the time being, it's going to be very, very slow production for Kozak 006. Nicely done with those gunships. Easy to forget the power of the gunship, but it is a significant force to be reckoned with. A couple of ducks looking to wander their way on across the map here. There's not a whole lot to stop these, so they actually could probably get a pretty decent value out. Would love to see 1 or 2 of them peeled off to try and maybe do a little bit of damage up on this northern section right here. This little hillside. Maybe clear out some of that, and you would have yourself a nice little metal advantage this one as well, if you're playing as the blue player. Oh, you know what? I am talking out of my rear. Those are on the same team. I was wondering why they weren't shooting at anything. Those are on the same team. If that's the case, then I think this is a great play. We're going to sneak a bunch of ducks through here. They're not going to be spotted, hardly in time for the red team to react to them, at least not very quickly. They're going to pop up. They're going to start blasting a lot of this T2 economy, the metal extractors, the laser turrets, the constructors, maybe even the advanced geo if they should get so far. There are Marauder out. The Marauder should do decently to clean this up, but not before they do a lot of damage here. Yeah, those metal extractors, they definitely start to hurt. You lose 1, it's okay. You lose 2, it starts to really sting. But after 3 or 4 of those advanced metal extractors go down, yeah, it starts to be a real burn in the side. You really forget how much those contribute at the end of the day. Razorback finally is called over. It's a real crisis when the Razorbacks are called. But it will make short work of a lot of these T2 bots here. Wind turbine farm goes up in smoke, but it won't matter as the Razorback finally cleans up all of those ducks that push through. Overall, in the end, 3 advanced metal extractors go down. Not the end of the world right here for the red team, but it's a nice little bit of value. Meanwhile, T3 is out for the blue team, and specifically the blue player. It's the Demon, the flamethrower mech. It's long anticipated. It's been an experimental unit forever, but they're finally considering adding it. 6,000 metal and 90,000 energy. It's a bit of an interesting one. It's somewhere between a Marauder and a Razorback. It's amphibious, so it can walk under the seas. It spews a big gout of flame that does a tremendous amount of DPS. It's a bit of a weird one. Yeah. It's a real thinker of a unit. Razorback only 3,800, so they're quite a bit more expensive than the Razorback actually. Maybe they're a little bit ahead of a Razorback. They're like a Razorback and a Marauder instead of in between the two, right? An interesting sort of unit concept for sure. Sharpshooters firing backwards here. In retreat. Gotta spread these out a little bit more. Oh, the AoEs can kill these. Brutal. Loses all those very, very expensive sharpshooters because they were clumped up right there. They certainly could have dealt with this many units. It's more than enough sharpshooters, but unfortunately, taking an inappropriate trade right there does mean that those sharpshooters are going to go down. Reinforcers are going to have to rebuild. We're going to have to spiral those sharpshooters again. You can certainly go for a killer push right here with the sharpshooters if you just went ahead and build 15, 20 of them, and you just pushed very slowly with some welders in front for spam support. Could do some really nice work. Gunships here used to bring down these demons. Pushing on through. A call for air is sent. Will it be heard? All eyes turn towards Creepy. Send the fighters on over. Fighters devastatingly slow now. You can see just how slow they are. This is 1x game speed. It's really, from afar they don't seem so bad. When you really get up into it, yeah, the fighters are extremely slow. I'm not sure if it's a bad thing per se, but it definitely looks quite strange. Either way, a nice little aerial engagement here. Wow, talk about medium tanks. We're going heavily into the medium tanks here for the Maroon player. Beady Bot. Demons having a field day, washing these in flame though. My goodness. What does the hitbox for this look like? Oh, it's massive. A gargantuan hitbox here on the flamethrowers that the demons spew. For some reason, we've stopped sending the demons. Maybe a little too imprecise to send into the delicate inner workings of the blue team here. Garganeth, a much more precise weapon of war, going to finally blast down these medium tanks here. Nicely done by the blue player. All in all, that's actually probably a pretty good strategic decision, not to send the demons back right there. They could certainly do a whole lot more friendly fire damage than you meant to. Marauder going to push up the beach here. That's a lot of Scorpion turrets, though. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't think those Scorpion turrets really want to get to know that Razorback. Or in reverse, Razorback probably doesn't want to get to know those Scorpion turrets. Oh, but it will. It'll feel the sting. Oh, just barely sniping Time Adams' commander right there. Very nicely done. Getting a little bit more value out of that Marauder than otherwise it would have. All the way on the northern side, looks like we have a whole bunch of sharpshooters, as well as some Marauders, flashing against the T1 and T2 combined arms of the orange player here. Getaway car. I don't see a reason why the Marauder are fighting this battle whatsoever, actually. I mean, they're defending it, obviously, but it seems like this could be fought on the retreat. Take a very efficient fight here. If you just spread these units out a little bit, the fight will be much more efficient. And then you can send these Marauders on through as a little bit of an attack wave. Do a tremendous amount of damage. I think King Rogue definitely has the right idea here. Definitely the right idea to go for a bunch of those Marauder and try and send them into the pond right here, but exposing them a little early and especially losing too many of them, it's definitely going to slow down this attack quite a lot. Fat Boy is out now. Deal some splash damage to a lot of these units. There we go. Blasting apart those tanks. There's a couple of pulsars, starlights rather. Always getting those confused. Wouldn't be the Brightworks if I didn't mispronounce anything that has to do with stars. Oh, Mauser shot its own pulse or its own starlight in the back of the head. The more I think about it, the worse it gets. So if I start thinking about, no, that's not a pulsar, that's a starlight, I'll start calling it a pulsar. It's a vicious cycle. I know I mispronounce it, and then I think about it more, and then because I think about it more, I mispronounce it more. Yeah, it's brutal. It's very brutal. Oh, a little bit of a counter-aggression over here. Marauder pop out of the water and actually shut down the T3 gantry. That's a nice little snipe right there. I completely missed it. T3 did actually manage to shut down the T3 gantry. Very nicely done here by the by the tan player here. Was it? Oh no, it must have been yellow Marauders that went across there. Yeah. Both teams looking to send little scout units, well, I say little scout units. What I mean by that is full-blown T3 amphibious units. But both teams looking to send their amphibious T3 units across the field and do killer damage right now. A couple of cloaked, sneaky beats over here. Remember, you can't see those with basically anything. They are a radar jammer, so they can't be detected by radar, and they're cloaked, so you can't detect them in line of sight, making them virtually invisible to all but contact, physical contact. Eventually, this Marauder found them, but after a good long while. Oh, thought the fighter might get the kill there on the Marauder. A fighter with a Marauder kill. Now I've seen it all. Dragon's going to be scorching these scorching these demons. How do you like that? A little bit of a taste of their own medicine here as they fire away at those demons. Pun well intended. Lines are wide open right now for the Maroon player. So just as a high-level perspective right now, this is a nice line of attack here for the red team to express down south here. Excellent little push on the northern side right here, but this is going to be a lot harder to break through because the units are reinforcing. This is a completely wide open path. However, there's T3 reinforcements if you get too far, so this is always going to stall out on this hill here. And then, of course, there's this pond right now, which is anybody's game. If anybody manages to express an advantage over the pond, it would definitely turn this tide. Right now, it's the blue team in control of it because of this capital ship, but I think if that turns, it could certainly flip into the hands of the red team. Zooming on all the way back down here, and we're going to get into the base of Grim 66, who's now under siege from that capital ship, quite unfortunately. No bubble shields in sight, and so it is going to be to the detriment of the pink player that capital ship continues to besiege them from afar. P2 is about to die there as well. There it goes. That hurts. That definitely hurts, and it's frustrating to deal with this because it feels pretty much unassailable to go for that capital ship. You try to move in to attack the capital ship, and it just blows your forces apart. Yeah, it's not fun. Now this will work. Send in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dragons there, and eventually wrap that bad boy up in flame, and eventually you're going to have yourself a dead capital ship, not a dad capital ship. Demons push back the force over here on the right-hand side. T3 reinforcement's going to be more than enough to push that back, and that should absolutely be the cue that BeanieBot needs in order to know to transition into T3 here. Looking for a bunch of bedbugs. Not sure if the bedbug spam is going to work as well as they maybe hope. Bedbugs and tumbleweeds very powerful under the water, but as soon as they get out of the water, they are very, very vulnerable. One of the few units that is extremely powerful in one field and unpowerful in another. Not sure what the right word is for that. I almost want to say diametrically opposed. Razorback holding the lineup here. Perfect tool for keeping spam down. It is slowly being whittled away by the hounds that are being put out, but there's no reason why those hounds should be fighting in close quarters combat. They are a siege unit after all. They have a tremendous range to them. It could be firing now. Instead, it's running directly to its doom. This is a tremendous expense right now for the green player, King Rogue. And I don't wonder if maybe ceasing the T2 spam, there we go, and in favor of T3 spam might be the right idea here. Gonna go ahead and speed things up now. Demon's available, well, resurrected anyways, for the hot pink player. Not gonna mean much, though, as that demon does get blasted apart by the fiends of its fellow brethren. Karganeth's gonna start firing away at this dragon, eventually taking it down. Slowly, but very, very surely, taking down that dragon. Okay, little air repair pad, gonna start patching up the dragons here, that's quite nice. Air repair pad with 1,000 build power. It's very effective at repairing. And the dragon is certainly one of those units that can benefit from it. There's not a lot of them. Hornet is another one. Oh, big nuke is launched. Okay, connects right over here, takes out a whole bunch of those lunkheads. With those lunkheads out of the game, it does mean that amphibious units are going to be able to move on through, so maybe that's what Time Adams is thinking about, is to nuke that area, but maybe hoping that one of his teammates can express some sort of an advantage through that area. Demons finally marching through here, accompanied by the Karganeth for our blue commander. Trying to avoid their names so they don't get censored by YouTube. Looks like the air repair pad was all for naught here, but the dragons are going to jump on top of these Karganeth regardless. Karganeth putting up as good a fight as they can, but it's definitely not enough to shut down all of these dragons. Those beasts of the sky. The pinnacle of gunships. The lone marauder. The hero marauder, the one that could. Finally breaking through over here and shutting down the advanced fusion reactor for the dark green player, King Rogue. Switching him back to the economy of advanced solar panels and wind turbines that he has in the backline over there. Meanwhile, aggression pushing forward on this northern front over here. Looks like Gamer Guy is trying to get some work done. I'm not sure how much that T1 is going to be very effective anymore. Probably time to switch entirely to T2. Maybe T1 rovers for a little bit of spam scouting. Starlight's doing the most. Likewise for Akrons, the exact same critique. I don't think those T1 medium tanks are going to get much value anymore. Southern side turning into an all-out T3 brawl, but this is exactly the time where I think you need to start thinking about sending across some amphibious units. Because Yellow has been the major producer of T3 here for this entire game, I think what that means is that if you notice that Yellow forces are being pulled down to your side, it's well worth it to try and reserve some forces to try and go for a little harassment. Oh, glad I didn't miss it. A bunch of... Oh, nice. A bunch of dragons sneak into the backline there and do snipe the labs for the blue player. Very nicely done. Shutting down the major economy center here for the blue team. And suddenly throwing the red team into a massive, massive advantage. Blue taps out of the game immediately. Says he's not willing to rebuild after that devastation. And we've all been there. We've all been there. That's a rough moment to lose your entire eco's worth of base after you know, so many minutes of gameplay here. This is way too much T3 down on the southern side here to deal with. It's kind of a weird spiral because if you see your opponent going for a lot of T3 down here to address your T3 and then you pull your T3 out, well, now they have a massive T3 army right on your front door, and you can't afford to not have your T3 over there, so it's sort of this weird effect where you have to go for everything. Not sure if King Heroic has quite the economy for a wall cannon. You need, I think it's 6 advanced fusion reactors in order to fire it consistently. We're close with 0, but, you know, not quite there yet. A lot of people underestimate the cost of the Ragnarok. Maybe because a lot of people haven't built a Ragnarok. It's a weird kind of position to be in where you can build a Ragnarok, certainly. Oh, I see the shadow of a nuke. There it goes. Boom! Mass devastation. Huge nuke connects into the backline here as Commander Riker gets nuked, caught with no anti-nuke. Really reminding me of myself here with no anti-nuke. 41 minutes into the game. That's absolutely a mistake that I've made. Oh wow, it's really slipping away from me. It's about hour 6 of recording, so you'll have to forgive me for the slipped words. Oh boy, what a mess. T1 and T2 colliding in a bloody and unorganized brawl over here. Oh my. Eventually it will be Gamer Guy. It's very difficult to judge these battles sometimes. It just feels like a bunch of people smacking each other in the face. Lunkhead's gonna take down this laboratory over here for Tim Adams. Tim Time Adams. Stormbringer's gonna try and do something. There it was. Yeah, you know what? Those Scorpion turrets that were built early on, doing a great job. Hey, they killed one. Doing a great job of defending this base over here. All right, pretty good. Very nicely done. We do have an Aphis to resurrect over here, by the way. Nobody's taken the blue player, which is quite funny. Khalees says it's Jover. Potentially a JoJo's reference. With the blue player not supporting with T3, though, it is only a matter of time before these forces sweep on through. It is quite the army of hounds over here, and those... those, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gauntlets doing an excellent job of supplying cursory firepower, supplementary firepower. The Vanguard probably doing more than all 5 of those combined. Happy to see one of every laboratory. There should be a unique voice line for building one of every laboratory. Crossplay enabled is what it should say. Anywho, Razorback's tearing this line apart, and there's not really any defenses to shut down the T3. That was all coming out of the blue player, and the blue player out of here, there's no more T3 production. And so I do believe eventually these Razorback are going to be able to win the game. Just the right aggression at just the right time, slipping the units through just when they're most needed here, and that was what those dragons were doing earlier on in the game. At this point, no more dragons are necessary because all of the bases are pretty much dead. Cataphracts, but these are their unmodified versions, so they just fire their one little green laser beam. Not the OP ones that we play with on stream. Just another reason for you to come check that out, by the way. Those Cataphracts are pretty sweet. They essentially are the Star Wars turbo laser tanks that the droids use, so if you're a big Star Wars buff, you'll get a real kick out of them. I know I sure do. CIS, is that what they're called? CIS tanks? Anyway, let's just call them droid tanks. The line's being swept clean over here. Basically nothing left for... Oh, that's funny. The demon sees the submarine. However, the submarine is underwater, and water greater than fire. This demon will never reach its target. It is truly the Sisyphusian representation of Bar. These Scorpion turrets are certainly giving the yellow player a run for their money. There is a target here that we need to hit. The build power would be another wonderful target. It's like a Raptors game. Just, not the basketball team, but a bar Raptors game. We're just watching unit after unit storm in here and just get blasted down right now. Beanie Bot using the Resurrected Commander to reclaim from this 52,000 wide metal field over here. Medium tanks. You know what? I said they probably weren't going to get much value, but here they are. Flanking like a bunch of ticks onto King Road's forward production center. Lunkheads and Marauders is going to shut down the rear production center, which is also a large portion of the energy production here. Advanced solar panels, pretty good. Not good enough, though. It's never good enough. More of those Stormbringers. Yeah, those T1 Armada bombers, not exactly the pinnacle of damage per second, you could say. Now, I do happen to notice nobody is protected by anti-nuke over here for the blue team. Could be an excellent opportunity to go for one of those nuclear launchers, send a big ball of thermonuclear devastation across the map here. A couple of nuclear bombers looking for an opportunity. They spy one. They know where the APHIS is right now for Grim 66. Not for instance not perhaps the biggest economy available, but certainly a vulnerable one. Demon has a little bit of anti-air. Got to be very careful. Resign vote is called. Will the nuclear bombers get there before the resign vote finishes? It's close. What on earth? We had the right option and we just decided not to, so yeah, that's going to be it for the blue team, I do believe. A bunch of ticks managed to sneak their way into the back line now. Lovely. Medium tanks as well. Being very difficult for a lot of these units to deal with. We have more nuclear bombers. Oh my goodness. There's a nuclear bomber right in control, deletes base. This is terrifying. Oh, and there it goes. Oh my goodness. Nuclear bomber delivering its payload with its life. Finally taking some significant damage to the yellow player on the red team. Is it enough to save them? I seriously doubt it. That was pretty nice of a kill anyways. Tim Adams holding on just long enough to do one last nuclear bombing before being reduced to atoms. Nicely done by the red team. Definitely a lower skill lobby, but it's wonderful to see. Maybe it gives some people some ideas of where they can improve in their own games. And as always, if you'd like to see your own game featured on the channel here, you're always more than welcome to join the Discord with the link down below and submit it through the replays channel. Other than that, though, I hope you enjoyed today's cast, and I will see you in the very next video, Beyond All Reason. Peace out, folks.